Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, text number 59. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasovarjam rasopasya param drishtva nivartate. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense object remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. Purport. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulation is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restrictions by some spiritual process like Astanga Yoga in the matter of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc. is recommended for less intelligent person who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of Lord Sri Krishna, Supreme Lord Krishna, in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness, no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good if one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. So, as we know, Krishna has been describing about what is the nature of a person who is situated in a transcendence. If you see, the entire Bhagavad Gita is like a question and answer. And Arjuna had asked one question from Krishna, that Istita Pragnasa Ka Bhasha, that what is the language of a person who is situated in a transcendence, who is fixed up in transcendental knowledge. And Krishna is being trying to explain in last 4 verses. In the verse 55, Krishna said that unless a person gives up the tendency to enjoy senses, which are born out of mental concoction, till that point of time a person will not be able to situate himself in transcendence. And then Krishna also explained in the 56th and 57th verse that how a person who is not disturbed when difficulties comes and who is not too much elated when there is a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. And then 57th verse Krishna says, one who does not lament when we lose something and don't rejoice when we gain something. Then 58th verse Krishna says, who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects like a tortoise. So basically, Krishna is proposing something which seems to be completely utopian for us, very idealistic, and we cannot really relate to this. So why Krishna is proposing something which is very much unrelatable, and how we can come to this platform? So Krishna's, if you see this verse, 59th verse, now Krishna is concluding that you cannot give up the desire for mental concoction, which are sensual desires. You cannot be not disturbed when difficulties comes, and you cannot be not elated when happiness comes, and you cannot not lament when you lose something and not rejoice when you gain something. And it's not easy to withdraw your senses when actually they are not required. So here Krishna is giving on what foundation a yogi is able to do all these things. On what basis a person who is transcendental, he is able to situate himself into that kind of understanding, wherein he is completely withdrawn from this world and he can do whatever he wants in that sense. So here Krishna is giving the solution, and Krishna is explaining this principle that what is this principle, on what basis a yogi can perform all these wonderful feats. So Krishna is saying here, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. So let us first discuss why we cannot do that. Why we are not able to come to this point wherein we are able to withdraw our senses whenever it's not required. We can be completely transcendental. We can give up our mental desires. So if you see, all of us are living in this world trying to transform ourselves. Sometimes we understand that there are certain things which we should not be doing. There are certain habits which we should be giving up. There are certain things which we want to change in our life. But many times what happens is no matter how many resolutions we take, it all fails eventually. And what is the reason why we are not able to give up certain habits, certain attitudes, certain perception about life? The reason is we are not able to give up that because we are trying to restrain from that. But the point is, Krishna is saying here, Vishaya vinivartante, although you may try to restrain from sense enjoyment, although you may try to restrain from certain habit, although you may try to restrain yourself from certain behaviors, but the taste remains. We have a certain kind of taste which we get from performing those acts. And this taste is mostly is relief from pain. Actually, as a spirit soul, this is a very unideal situation for us, this material world. And spirit soul is always crying, is always hankering, is always wanting to have association of Krishna. But because of misidentification, we are not able to actually perceive our problem and not able to get right solution. So in this sensual world, what is happening is we have senses, we have sense object. When they come in contact with each other, then what happens? It gives a sense of relief from that pain. The solution, the problem is somewhere else, and we just try to patch up the wound. We just try to cover up the wound by engaging into those sensual activities. So what is happening is the taste which we get by certain behaviors, certain habits, certain actions, certain sensual happiness, certain sensual engagement is helping us relieving the pain which soul is experiencing. The soul is in deep pain. And what is the pain of soul? Being away from Krishna. And we in ignorance is not able to identify that that is our actual pain, then we think it is what it is going to give me happiness. But the nature of this happiness is simply giving relief for some time from that pain. And that is a root cause we become attached to that. Because for us there is no other option. In ignorance there is no other option. So basically what's happening is we're looking for right thing at a wrong place. So that is the reason we are stuck with this sensual enjoyment. So one more reason, if you see, hungry person. If a person is hungry, he will go after eating anything, even though it may not be healthy for him. But if a person is completely filled, he has eaten, let's say, nice varieties of food stuff, then he will be more conscious that what is healthy, what is not healthy. He will be selective in his eating. A person will not have any discrimination in eating if he is hungry and there is no other food is provided to him. So we as a spirit soul is experiencing this unhealthy happiness, unhealthy pleasure of sense enjoyment, which is binding up to this material world. And what is the reason? Taste. So now, unless we come out of this lower taste, we cannot come out of the lower happiness or lower engagements. So now what is the solution for us? That we are not able to give up certain habits, certain behavior, certain actions, certain attitude is because there is some taste to it, and that taste is relieving us from pain, and that's why we get attached to that. So now what is the solution for us? How can we give up that? And we can come to this point of Sthita Prajna. What do you say? What is the solution? So Krishna is giving solution here. Krishna is saying here, raso varjam rasopasya param drishtva nivartate. The translation goes like that. Vishaya vinivartante. Vinivartate means I am able to restrain. Vishaya means the sense object. Vinivartante, I am trying to restrain from sense object. Niraharasya dehina. Nirahara. Nirahara. Ahara means food, and Nirahara means we are trying to restrain. Nirahara. Vrata. We are basically doing vrata, trying to do vrata from sense objects. Dehina. But raso varjam raso pasya. We can, the taste is still there. And the solution Krishna is giving here is param drishtva nivartate. Unless we experience the higher taste, we will not be able to give up lower taste. This verse you might have heard so many times. This verse Srila Prabhupada quotes many times, but we really don't get what this verse is trying to say to us. So basically, Krishna is trying to say that you are hungry. You should have a good food. Unless you have a good food, unless you have a good taste, you will not be able to give up the lower taste. No matter how many gymnastic you do, what kind of restrictions you try to provide to yourself, but from inside that force will always remain because you are hungry. So then the question comes, then what is this higher taste we are talking about? Okay, the lower taste is of sensual enjoyment. We try to, from very base qualities, we try to experience that taste which you are always hankering for as a spirit soul. And we try to feed the soul which is in the heart through the sensual objects, going from outside to inside. But the meaning of higher taste is which comes from higher sources. The happiness which comes from higher sources is known as higher taste. And unless we are able to touch that higher source, able to connect to that higher source, that higher taste will not flow to us. So what happens, there was one small girl, little girl, and this girl has gone to Walmart with her mother to shop something. And in the checkout counter, they keep something which can just pick up and they can very few amount of dollars. This little girl find one fake pearls necklace, like a string necklace, and she says, "Mama, can I pick it up?" She says, "Okay, you can have it." So then she becomes very happy having this $2 worth of fake necklace, and she comes to the house and she becomes very happy, very attached to this. And her father was very dear to her. Every day before she sleeps, no matter what father is doing, father will give up everything and will tell a story to the small daughter. And then after telling the story to the daughter, the father says, "My dear daughter, can I ask you something?" "Yeah, my dear father, please ask me." She says, "Do you love me?" The daughter says, "Yes, I love you." So the father says, "Can you give me this? Can I ask something from you?" "Yeah, please ask something. Whatever you ask, I will give you, my dear father." So the father says, "Can you please give me this necklace?" "No, father, you can take my princess, or you can take my doll." And then father says, "Okay, fine, no problem. I still love you." And he just goes out. And then next day again, the father comes, tells one more story, and again asks from this daughter, "My dear daughter, do you love me?" Daughter says, "Yes, I love you." And the father asks, "Okay, can I ask something from you?" "Yes, please ask, my dear father." Then the father says, "Can you please give me that necklace?" "No, no, no. Can you please take my doll? I will give all my toys. I'll give you, but don't ask this necklace." Then father understands she's becoming very attached to this necklace. So one fine day, what happens? Suddenly, she was playing with that necklace, and that necklace breaks off. And then she starts crying. She was sobbing, weeping, crying, and she was completely in a depressed state. Then father sees that what's going on. Then father takes the daughter to the bedroom, and he brings out one packet, the fine velvet packet, and from that packet, father gifts the small daughter a diamond studded necklace. And then there was no bound to her joy. It was a real pearl, real diamond necklace, and she was crying for the fake necklace. Then she said, "My dear father, didn't you tell me that there was a necklace here?" "Yeah, I told you, but why didn't you give me earlier then?" He said, "Yes, I did not give you earlier because you was not ready to give up the lower necklace, the fake necklace. Unless you give up the lower necklace, you will not be able to wear the real necklace." In a similar sense of word, Krishna is trying to say, we are holding lower happiness in our hand. Krishna is saying, give it that up. Why Krishna is saying to give it up? Krishna is saying because Krishna is holding that higher happiness in his hand and is ready to give it to us. And because we are holding on to our grudges, we are holding to our pain, we are holding to our attachment, we are holding to so many things in our life, that is why our hands are filled. And because our hands are filled, we cannot capture, we cannot hold what Krishna is trying to give us. We are not able to empty our heart, able to create that space in our heart by which Krishna can flood our heart with spiritual happiness. So unless we create the space in our heart, especially space wherein Krishna can come and reside and start infusing those happiness, till that point of time we will not be able to taste higher happiness and be able to give up lower happiness. The objective of everything is to experience the rasa, to experience the rasa of life. And that is what Krishna is saying, raso varjam raso pasya. Actually, we want to experience taste, we want to experience rasa. But what is Krishna's name? Krishna has an unlimited name, but one of the name of Krishna is Rasaraj. He's a king of all the rasas. The rasa which we are trying to experience here, it is Krishna only which has kept it in the form of a drop happiness. And that to experience as a relief of pain, not real happiness. So if the ocean of happiness is available to us, but you are becoming attached to the drop of happiness. So it is said that the soul is hankering for ocean of happiness. But what these material engagements offers us is drop of happiness. So another name of Krishna is known as Govinda. All of you know that. The meaning of Govinda is who give pleasure to senses. So it is said that not only spiritual senses Krishna gives pleasure to as a Govinda, but also he gives pleasure to our own material happiness. Govinda means who gives happiness. So we are able to experience the happiness in our senses is only because of Krishna's presence, is only because of Krishna's interference. For an example, it is said that according to Ayurveda, it's a fluid in our body which makes us experience the happiness. Because if we see all our senses is kind of nourished by fluid, some kind of fluid. Our eyes are nourished by fluid. Our nose is nourished by fluid. Our ears by wax. Our tongue by the saliva. If the mouth is very dry, you cannot taste actually anything. It is water, which is a fluid, some kind of fluid, which is making us experience this higher happiness, lower happiness. It is Krishna. Krishna says it is because of me that fluid is there. If I dries up all the fluid, especially that is what happens in old age, we cannot experience any happiness coming out of sense objects. So in that way, that Krishna is saying that why are you going there? Come to me. I am the one who gives happiness to everybody. I am the source of all the rasas, and I can expand your happiness beyond your imagination. So we are looking for happiness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in first verse of Sistastaka that Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam means there is an ocean of happiness. There is an ocean of happiness. And how do we experience happiness? It is said that even in this world, if we see in Krishna's personality, we find 6 opulences: wealth, knowledge, and strength, renunciation, fame, and everything. So it is these experiences, attainment of these things gives us a drop of happiness. But what is Krishna's personality like? You take infinite ocean of wealth, infinite of ocean of health plus infinite ocean of happy wisdom, infinite ocean of strength. If you have infinite ocean of health, wealth, infinite ocean of wisdom, infinite ocean of strength, infinite ocean of fame, infinite ocean of renunciation, all these infinite ocean, they are always expanding, and they all of them comes and merge into the personality of Krishna. So we are looking for one drop of fame, we are looking for one drop of beauty, we are looking for one drop of wisdom, we are looking one drop of strength. But like this infinite ocean of each one of these elements, which are ever expanding, are merged in the personality of Krishna. So potentially, how much happiness he can give us? It is said that how much happiness he can give us is Anandam Buddhi. They can give us happiness, which is infinite ocean of happiness. Because he has the infinite ocean of all these different qualities, so potentially he can give us infinite ocean of happiness. And again, note that this infinite ocean of wealth, beauty, fame, renunciation, wisdom, they are not static oceans. They're ever expanding oceans. So how much happiness it can give us if they're ever expanding? It can give us ever expanding happiness. So this is what it is, what it means by gaining that higher taste. Just to give you a glimpse of it. Then Krishna also explains in the 6th chapter what is the effect it has on you when you gain higher happiness. What happens to you? What is your status like when you experience higher happiness? If you see entire 6th chapter is talking about Ashtanga Yoga, and Krishna is teaching to Arjuna how to come to the platform of Shanta Bhakti. Shanta Bhakti means start realizing Paramatma feature in your heart. And when we realize Paramatma, we attain Shanta Rasa. So in Shanta Rasa, what if we attain that Shanta Rasa, if we attain that perfection of always absorbing ourselves into the feature of Paramatma in our heart, then Krishna explains what happens to that person. Krishna says, Yatro paramate chittam viruddha yoga sevaya yatra chaivatma atmanam pashyan atmanam tushyati sukham atyanti ki yattat buddhi graya matindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sitas chalati tattvataha yam labdhva chaparam labdham mannatena dikam tataha yasmin sthitona dukkhena gururapina vichalyate tat vidyat dukha samyoga viyoga yoga samhitam. What is Krishna saying here is, let me read out the purport, the translation. The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi. When one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities, that's what Krishna is saying, material mental activities by the practice of yoga. This is characterized. So now Krishna is giving the characteristics, how that person will behave, how that person will experience life if he has attained this state. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind. One thing what will happen is, we will be able to see our own self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. So that is first level of happiness. To be able to rejoice and relish our own real self, we'll be discussing later further in the discussion. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. Where is he situated? Boundless transcendental happiness. And enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Establishing what? Establishing that higher happiness. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. The truth of We are a spiritual spark of Krishna's personality. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Now that is very important. Being situated in such a position of experiencing higher taste, experiencing boundless transcendental happiness, in that state, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. So that is what Krishna is saying in those verses, that once you attain this transcendental happiness, you will never be shaken in any of those greatest difficulties. Even though greatest difficulties comes, no matter what happens outside you, Prabhupada says in the purport, no matter a person become callous, even though he is losing wealth, he is gaining wealth, his relatives are coming to me, his relatives are going away from his life, he is gaining fame, he is becoming unfamey. So any of those state, he is unbothered because he is experiencing that happiness within himself, he is complete within himself, he is not dependent upon other object for him to make happy anymore. This indeed is actual freedom from miseries arising from material contact. So that is what Krishna is saying, that this is what the effect of experiencing higher taste. That is the effect which you can perceive. So, but the point is, okay, higher taste is important because it enables us to give up all those things which are the cause of all our pains in our life. But ultimately, how do we develop this higher taste? Yeah, this is a transcendental happiness. It looks very pleasant to hear and looks very pleasant to perceive all these things. But how do we actually experience that? How do we start preparing ourselves to be able to experience this taste? Okay, this thing has been talked about the person who is completely in trance, is in samadhi, who has achieved perfection. I have not achieved perfection. How can I perceive that? How can I get it at this point of time? So come to something realistic, practical. So it is said that the higher taste begins with one very important thing which we all lack. It begins with appreciation. It begins with appreciating what we have in our life. How much Krishna has blessed us with. And the happiness which Krishna talks about, it is a meditative happiness. So what we have a experience of, these all pleasures is a spikes of pleasures. It is not really happiness. There's a fine difference between pleasure and happiness. Pleasure means it comes, it goes. It comes, it goes. There is no continuity in pleasure. But happiness is a constant state of satisfaction in the heart. For an example, pleasure is that you got a bonus in your job. Let's say 15% hike you got. It gave you pleasure. But the happiness is every month you are able to get stable salary. There is some sort of stability in that. Just to give a gross differentiation between happiness and pleasure. So happiness is something which is a constant source of happiness and which comes deep within your heart. It's more of a meditative form. So actually it is said that we have been blessed a lot in our life. But our mind have a tendency to always focus on thing what we don't have, then on the thing what we really have. This one thing can be heard very simple statement. We have it so many times. But if we can focus on this one principle, one aspect of our life, that we start appreciating what we have in our life, how much Krishna has blessed us with, then your journey begins toward transcendental happiness. So the gratitude, being able to gratitude in our heart is a foundation for the real happiness to grow. If you don't have proper foundation, it will not be able to grow. The tree will not grow. If there is no fertilizers, there is no proper earth. So grateful heart is a fertile land for our happiness, the tree of happiness to grow. Gratefulness of what? Gratefulness of what we have in our life. Gratefulness of how much I have been blessed with. So there was one psychiatrist, and the person was very depressed. and that person goes to psychiatrist and he says, my life is so much difficult and I have this problem, I have that problem, this is not working out, that is not working out, I'm so miserable in my life. And apparently he was a millionaire. So, and he was a very healthy body. The psychiatrist says, okay, do one thing, just give me 24 hours of your life. Okay, I'll give you 24 hours. It's a good therapy for you. He said, okay, go to emergency yard of a hospital, just sit there for 24 hours. Go to the emergency yard of hospital and sit there for 24 hours. He goes and sits. This is how many different kinds of difficulty people have. Somebody don't have hands, somebody don't have legs, somebody is suffering because of that disease, somebody is suffering because of that reason. Then he came to conclusion that I don't have all these problems. I never realized that people are suffering too much in their life. And I don't have all these things. I never been grateful what I have been blessed with. And this person say thank you to psychiatrist and just walks out from the office. So from this we can understand that if we start appreciating what we have in our life, that itself can give us immense amount of happiness. And this does not require for it to gain anything. That's the beauty of it. Sometimes what happens, we become so absorbed in earning money that we are not able to enjoy the money which we have already earned. A person is so busy in earning money, he already have crores and crores in his bank account. He is not able to enjoy that because he is very disturbed in earning more money. It's very illogical, right? A person should be able to enjoy his own money. So we have a wealth, but we are not able to access to that wealth because we are not able to train ourselves in that right frame of consciousness. And today we are celebrating Father's Day. So let us understand some few points by we can start developing that higher taste. Because unless we give ourselves that dose of regular higher taste in our consciousness, we can feed that higher consciousness in our consciousness. Till that point of time, we'll be hungry of happiness. And the more hungry of happiness, no matter how much hard you try to give up lower taste, no matter how much hard you try to give up wrong habits, no matter how much hard you try to change yourself, it is not going to happen. So the dosage of happiness is so important. So as a father, if you see a child, how does father nurtures a child? So what all gifts the child gets from his father? So today being the Father Day, just thought of discussing some bit of points from that perspective also. So it is said that the father provides the children. The father is a provider of the child. Okay, the father is coach to the child. Wherever the child lacks, father try to coach in different things, this and that. And father is a protector of a child. Father protects the child from all the dangers, from all the difficulties. And father is a real leader because whatever the father does, the child will follow. So basically, father becomes the natural first leader for a child. So that is why it is said, if a father is a good leader, a child will be able to imbibe those qualities also in himself. And father is a source of the child. So in so many ways, father gives to the child. That is why we say thank you to the father. And now we understand that, let us see these 5 things. He is a provider, he is a coach, he is a leader, he is maintaining us, and he is our leader and he's our source basically. If you see, Krishna also is providing us. Verse comes in Padma Purana, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam Ekoyo Bahunam Yovidadati Kaman. It is Krishna is singular, Nitya, Nityanam. We are all plural. We are all spirit soul. So one source, Krishna, who is Nitya, who is Chetana, full of knowledge, full of bliss, he is providing to all those children. We as a spirit soul. So he is a provider. So in that case, he become our father. And he is our coach. If you see, entire Bhagavad Gita is about coaching Arjuna. He's coaching Arjuna having a right perception. He's coaching Arjuna to have right paradigms of life. Then he's protecting us. Krishna says, I come to this world, paritanaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Krishna comes just to protect us. right? And Krishna is our natural leader, because if you see the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjun did not want to fight. So now Krishna says you have to fight because you have to perform your duty. Anyways, I am beyond all these duties. I have transcendental. I don't need to perform all these duties. No, if you don't require to perform all these duties, then you should perform your duties to set up an example. And he gives the example of Janak Maharaj and other examples. He gives his own example also. And Krishna says in the third chapter that Name Partha Asti Kartavyam Trishu Lokeshu Kinchana Neva Aptam Avaptavyam Varte Evacha Karmani. He says, O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary system. There is no work for me. I don't have to do anything. No, nor am I want of anything. Because somebody does work because they want something. And Krishna is not want of anything, so he will not work. He don't have to work. Nor I need to obtain anything because everything is his. And Krishna is saying, and yet I am engaged in my prescribed duties, even as a householder. So Krishna is leading us by his own example. And Krishna says, Sarva Yonisha Konteya Aham Bij Pratapitaha. I am the source of all the bijas, of all those souls in this material world. I am Bij Pratapitaha. So simply by understanding this, that Krishna is the one who is providing me, Krishna is the one who is my coach, Krishna is leading my path, I am source of Krishna. If you just meditate on one point, how much happiness it can infuse in your heart. Just imagine how Nrsimhadev came just to protect Prahlad Maharaj. If you go into the heart of Prahlad Maharaj, what he would be experiencing like? He will be full of fear. But actually he was not full of fear. He was full of faith. So because he was full of faith, we can gain that faith from him, and he was always happy, although he was in a most difficult situation. How Prahlad Maharaj was able to be happy even though he was in a very difficult situation? Because of his faith on Krishna. Similarly, we also can see in what all different situation Krishna protected me. We can reflect back in our life. This danger came, this danger came, this danger came, and in what all danger Krishna protected me. And how Krishna was leading my path. Even when I came to Krishna consciousness, in what situation I came to Krishna consciousness. How much Krishna has to create that background work for me to enter into the zone of Krishna consciousness. How much work he did to me. He prepared my consciousness to be able to actually accept this knowledge of Krishna. We all can reflecting back in our life what was our journey, how we came up, and how we are entering into, how we are growing, and how Krishna is protecting us. So all these are all real wealth what a devotee can have. And simply by meditating on those points, how Krishna is my protector, how Krishna is leading my path, how Krishna is coaching me every day, how Krishna is providing me every day, being grateful. So simply by having this appreciation, we can be really happy in our life. And that is the meaning of higher taste. So higher taste does not mean it is not dependent on anything. Ahetuki apratihata. Not that I have to really do something big in my life to be able to gain that higher taste. No. The nature of higher taste is such that even though you can simply sit, close your eyes and just meditate on those points, you can be full of happiness. That is what Krishna is saying in the 6th chapter. Focus on Paramatma. Means appreciate Paramatma's feature. And Srila Prabhupada says, it is more important to appreciate Krishna in your heart than to actually personally see Krishna. It is more important to appreciate Krishna's quality in our heart than actually seeing Krishna. So when we are able to start appreciating in our life by one very basics, what we already have. And then when we recognize what we already have and we become grateful to Krishna, you would see how all those things start flourishing more and more in your life. Because Krishna will know, okay, he is able to recognize, he is becoming grateful now. He is becoming ready to achieve higher and higher happiness. So another form of happiness what we can gain from these basic points is to understand my own nature. In the second chapter, Krishna explains the nature of soul. So, isn't it will make you happy that when we become old, when we have this body which is having wrinkles, the hairs are not there, our body is shaking. So, we can be in so much of depressed state in that point of time. That this body, whom I was able to do so many things all of my lifetime, is not functioning anymore. And when we become diseased, it happens. It just kind of gives you glimpses of old age, even in this, whenever we are young also. So, at that point of time, understanding that my nature is not all these kapha, pitta, vayu, my nature is not this flesh, my nature is not these bones, my nature is not this fluid which this body is made up of. Just close your eyes and imagine a skeleton which is filled with flesh, becoming connected with nerves, painted by skin. I am not that structure which is becoming diseased. I am a spirit soul, I am a spiritual spark. Just by meditating on your own nature, that is what Krishna is saying in the first line of this chapter, first of this verse, 6th chapter. But when we start experiencing pleasure, start rejoicing our own self. So why does Prabhupada says in each and every line of his books, you are a spirit soul, you are a spirit soul, you are a spirit soul, you are a spirit soul. There's a deep reason for that. Because he wants to brainwash us that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. And by simply understanding your spirit soul, it can open up the door of flood of happiness in our heart. And by discovering the truths about myself, by discovering truths about Krishna, when we read Prabhupada books, we see that I'm mining the jewels. I'm entering into the mine of jewel. I'm going to mine all those jewels out of these Srila Prabhupada books. When one statement is so powerful, it can flood my heart with happiness. That's why Srila Prabhupada says, simply by understanding one line of my book, you can go back to Godhead. These truths are powerful. Even by understanding the relationship I have with Krishna. I am his son, he is my father, he is providing me, he is maintaining me, he is protecting me, he is my coach, he is my guide, he is my source. That itself, simply by thinking, because we have achieved these jewels from Srila Prabhupada, we have understood these knowledge, we have gained these facts. It is not something which is I am bringing out from the thin air, it is all there. But Srila Prabhupada is gifting us all these jewels. Simply by meditating on all these points on a daily basis and by giving ourselves a higher dose of higher taste, you see how the entire life changes. It is said, no, even though we may be in greatest difficulty of our life, we can be very happy. So that is a higher taste. So now Krishna has given us the ingredient of higher taste. Now it's up to me how much I cook it. Krishna has given us the ingredient of developing higher taste. It depends upon me how do I cook in my own mind by meditating on that. So with this we'll conclude. If anybody have any doubts, any questions, maybe we can discuss. Anything, anybody, anyone, anything you would like to ask? Okay.